engagement, the stormtroopers died and they dropped the Panzerschreck. Now we have a bit of a reversal here, and we have the bazooka falling down. It doesn't look like CrazyTiger is, funnily enough, picking that up. I suppose he doesn't really need it, to be honest. I mean, all we saw was two M10s. They were easily destroyed by the Stu and the stormtroopers, so I suppose he doesn't really need the extra anti-tank right now. Maybe what he needs a bit more of is the anti-infantry.
Yeah, and the bazooka, if I remember, is not... It's not like picking up a Panzerschreck. It's not, you know, more effective against your own units. The bazooka, if I remember correctly, does not stack up well to American armor.
Well, I couldn't tell you the very exact statistics about it, but I do know that the Panzerschreck, you definitely pay for what you get out of it. I mean, 75 ammunition, and you get something a bit more. I think. Is it damage-wise or more accurate? I believe maybe both. I'm not exactly sure on the exact statistics.
Well, when the Wehrmacht drops, and we got Blitznades coming off in combination with the Stu to try and keep this rifle squad from really doing the damage. And it might go down.
Oh, it might. I mean, it's a Vet 2 squad. Oh, unfortunately not being able to do that. And so we just have this continual mass wave of guys right now, just throwing themselves forward into the arms of a MG, into the healthy little bullets thrown out by this MG. And here we go, a little howitzer barrage coming down, just to force retreat the Stu and the MG and whatever else. So that's Stu, just one shot from the howitzer, taking it down to half health, so quite a lot of damage on the top armor. So when we're talking about points-wise, CrazyTiger is down to 175 points. He's got all VPs at the moment, and Audemed is down to 338. So Audemed is leading. He definitely took advantage of the beginning of the game, and you know, he had the superior numbers. It's a bit bad that it's evened out the playing field right now, but he did have that advantage earlier on and did manage to take down the points of CrazyTiger. But we will see what happens.
Yeah, and I think CrazyTiger taking out those two M10s is really, it's the key to kind of what helped him, you know, change this game. The Stu out on the field helping push back the infantry forced Audemed to bring out tanks in response. The loss of those tanks then pushes him back a little further. And yes, there were some things that, you know, he probably could have gotten those tanks back and out of the way, but that was a fairly tough battle, especially when you're trying to get that Stu off of the field that's keeping your infantry. And so it can be worth some sacrifices occasionally, and it just didn't work out in his favor.
See, the funny thing about the Stu is it's actually quite unpredictable, because sometimes when you see it landing its shots, like, let's see what happens here, but when it lands a shot like in the middle of a squad, sometimes it will only take out one guy, but then other times it takes out 4 guys. It's quite an unpredictable gun.
And of course we saw earlier where the riflemen were planting the mine while you were away, and it took out the entire squad.
Wow. So it definitely seems like CrazyTiger's making a push on Audemed right now.
Yeah, you're going to see you know, kind of an establishment of territory a little bit. He's got this Stu that's running rampant, 40 kills, 1 tank, 2 buildings, which I think was just wire.
But here we go. I mean, we have
you also have a flank.
Yeah, we have a massive flank from behind. Being suppressed by the MG in the building, we could see some grenades if he does have grenades, but I don't believe he actually does, because they would have been out by now. And so here we go, just this mass rush of guys. Is Stu being taken out? The M10 on Veterancy 2, badly damaged. Could he really need some repair right now? But they're focusing on just trying to take out the rest of the remaining Wehrmacht force here. They just really need to try and take out this machine gun in the building, and it looks like they will be able to.
Or just take out the whole building.
Well, I suppose whatever works, just take out the whole freaking thing. Same effect.
Yeah, and I think what you see here, you know, at this point, Crazy's kind of sitting there. The Stu had 41, 42 kills before it died. Definitely paying itself off. There's no doubt about that, especially with Rangers on the field. 40 manpower a shot is pretty rough. And Crazy has kind of fielded some units that are not fully reinforced and then kind of backed up and is doing some reinforcement, but he really doesn't seem to be leaning too heavy on it. And I think what he's ultimately kind of looking for, he's either looking for another Stu or he's looking for the Tiger that he does have available.
That is what he's wanting. And if I'm going to mention something, CrazyTiger has actually gotten Veterancy 2 on his infantry, so he has managed to go up a little bit in terms of that. And you know, when we're talking about Volksgrenadiers and Veterancy 2, obviously they don't get their elite armor, but they do get some bonuses out of that, and that includes, like, you know, they get a reduced amount of damage on them. I believe they also get a reduced amount of suppression as well, so they still get quite a benefit out of it. But here we go, guys, 3 mortars. This is quite a surprising sort of thing. It's an artillery in their own right. As you guys can see, these mortars just taking a lot of damage on these Volksgrenadiers. Unfortunately, this one mortar is too close. We have Veterancy 2 on one of these mortars at 19 kills. So this mortar's most likely been around this entire game, fighting the long battle, and this is why he's Veterancy 2. Could definitely use a bit of support right now, though, but not really taking much damage.
Yeah, kind of holding up pretty well. This bar squad will come down and try and help push off. The other reason to get Vet 2 at this point is for your Stormtroopers, and that's obviously going to help them out.
Oh, definitely will. I mean, when you're ever facing against bars, you definitely need that. And here we go, the mortar just taking out a few Volksgrenadiers and a few riflemen from friendly fire, so very unfortunate there. Just teammates attacking themselves.
Now, was that an off-map combat group that brought in the M10 and the mortars? Because that's the only way I can think of that he would end up with 3 mortars sitting side by side.
It might have been. I mean, he does have an M10 on the field, but that is Veterancy 2. That might have come back from from an off-map combat group, but I'm not sure, guys. Maybe if you rewind it a bit, you could find out. But I would definitely pay a bit more attention to that. But nonetheless, when we're talking about Audemed's men, he has a lot on the field right now. If we just show this little tab bar on the right-hand side, you guys can see all his men, and there are loads at the moment.
No, and the crushing M10,
oh, jeez.
He takes out...
He's doing a very good job.
Yeah, but he does lose the M10. He was kind of coming after that Volk squad immediately, and then the Storms had kind of moved up and launched their first volley, and 2 double Shrek Storm squads, he probably figured at that point, or no, they're single, the one of them's double, and the one of them has a bazooka. Never mind.
Traitor.
Right. And the Storm squads, once you're that close, you know, he's kind of looking at it going, I don't know if I can get this tank away, so I'm just going to do my damage and do what I can and, you know, keep moving at this point.
I just love these assault grenades. They're very good. I believe they're only, what, 50 ammunition and pretty much stunning everything that's there. Too bad these Rangers, they didn't actually finish off the Volksgrenadier squad, but you know, those assault grenades, very, very good at doing what they do.
Yeah, and he's using, you know, quite a bit of that for quite a bit of his munitions for specifically, you know, the assault grenades. He's also getting some flamers on some pioneers over here in the east.
There's a tiger on the field.
Yeah. Why, hello there.
There is a tiger on the field, guys, so here we go. This is a late game unit. This is officially the statement of late game. So when you start seeing your King Tiger, your Tiger, and your Pershings and all that good stuff, then you know you have entered the maximum amount of units, so to say. That is when you're going to have to start using your tactics, your skill, and playing a sort of war of attrition in order to win. So I believe this game is going to possibly come down to points because it's been very tidal in a way. There's been a lot of changing of sides the fronts and that. So, you know, we've seen the Americans pushing on the Wehrmacht, then the Wehrmacht pushing on the Americans, and so this seems quite a stalemate. So it could be down to victory points. So we'll just have to find out and see, really.
Yeah, and this Tiger is going to have a big impact on the field. One of the things that a lot of people don't know is that Rangers, while having horrible penetration against Tigers, the bazookas have a very large damage bonus to make up for their lack of penetration, of all things. And so if you can get around behind the back of a Tiger with a set of Rangers, you can cause some very serious damage. We got a mortar coming down on these Volks and wiping them out entirely, while the Pios are getting resources from the nearby carcasses.
And a rifleman squad being actually taken out there as well. I like what Audemed does. Whenever a bar drops from one of his rifleman squads, just before he retreats, he picks it up just to deny it from his enemy. Unfortunately, this last rifleman was taken out there, so this bar is not going to go back into Allies' hands, it looks like, unless another squad of men pick it up from the Allies. But apart from that, it could be the Wehrmacht.
And that's very hard to predict when you've got a Tiger. The Tiger sometimes has some of the same feel to it that the Stu does. It fires, it might miss, it might clip one guy, it might take out 3/4 of your squad.
Mr. Tiger. So the Tiger's the bigger bully on the field. Already has 7 kills on infantry, so well done, Mr. Tiger. There is quite a frontal movement right now. And this is what I mean by a tidal sort of game. It's just a bunch of clashing between the enemies right now, the infantry, the units, and there hasn't been a big severe push at the moment. They seem very set in stone to keep on fighting on the left-hand side. What I'd possibly like to see more of is fighting across the map. Obviously the left-hand side is important, but maybe, you know, fighting elsewhere on a different front might be a more wiser choice at the moment.
There's definitely been some action over on the east-hand side, and it's hard to tear your eyes away from what's going on the west-hand side. We got Pios that had flamers. They were full health at one point. There was a mine laid down near the VP, and an encounter fought over there on the east side over the VP. So they're effectively just sending small reconnaissance squads back and forth over there just to try and keep those resources in contention.
Now, Ryan, you were asking me about off-map combat group, and as I said, I would pay more attention to off-map combat group, and yes, we do have one coming down onto the field. It providing from 800 manpower, 1 M10, 1 rifleman squad, 1 mortar, and 1 MG, so pretty cool.
Yeah, you're very rarely going to come out. You will at least always break even with the off-map combat group, so it's definitely a worthwhile ability, particularly if you're in a spot where you don't really care. Are we back to 3 mortars again? That's kind of scary.
There is a lot, so artillery in their own right, as I've said before. But this is something quite or groundbreaking at the moment in this game. We've actually got quite a push on the American base. So what has been happening most of this game is that there's been a clash in the center. Nobody has been really pushing in forward. But at last we have the Wehrmacht pushing in towards Audemed's base. So this is looking quite bad for Audemed. But then again, I'm not going to call a loss for Audemed just yet. Why? Because he has a lot of infantry, a lot of units on the field. In no way, in no shape or form, in pro games is being pushed on a sign of a loss. There's a lot of times in professional games where, you know, even if you're being pushed on, does not mean that you'll lose the game.
He also has a fairly significant VP advantage, and the VPs are frozen right now. So that works in his favor.
That's right. And so one of those mortars being taken out, a few mortars trying to take some shots on the Tiger, and just these little riflemen are trying to chase away the Tiger. But I actually like what Crazy is doing with his big beast. He's actually moving it back, reversing it, and firing at the same time, just so that the bazookas, the Panzerschrecks, whatever that the riflemen have, can't